All right, everybody. Hey, I want to welcome everybody here tonight just to set a couple of ground rules, okay? So I've got several lab managers here. I've got Leslie. Yep, go and wave at everybody, Leslie. And then we've got, let's see, Michelle is here. Michelle, where are you at? Okay, yeah, and there's Michelle. And then we've got Brian Mitchell, who is also a lab manager. So what we're going to ask you to do, folks, if you have a question that you'd like to have answered, just go ahead and put that in chat. All right. And then at whatever point that the lab managers feel is appropriate, they will go ahead and let the speaker know. Okay. You know, it's obviously going to be disruptive if we've got folks shouting out and so on and so forth. So we'll just go ahead and put your questions in chat. I'm sure there's going to be a period of time tonight or this evening where you'll just be able to answer your question. Okay, or I'm sorry, you'll just be able to ask your question without too much formality. Okay, so now that we've got the ground rules established, I believe everybody coming in is automatically put on mute. So let's make sure to do that when we're not speaking. And I will give a brief introduction of what the heck's going on here. All right, give me just a sec. I've got, I actually have just a single slide here to show everyone. All right. Okay, cool. So, folks, this is the this is a presentation regarding actually 4 entities that are working together. One entity is Edmonds College. Obviously, that's me. I'm representing Edmonds College along with the lab managers. And then we also have Workforce Snohomish, who is going to play a very important part in this program. And then we have the experts, the folks that are actually are going to bring and have brought a lot of expertise to the table. I've been very, very impressed with these folks. Those of you that have had me as an instructor before, which is most of you, from what I could tell, know that, you know, I don't typically hand out compliments easily. And that, you know, I'm a bit hard to please, you know, when it comes to expertise, and especially when it comes to teaching acumen and so forth. And I'll tell you what, the folks from Fish Cloud, the folks from 418 Intelligence have really got their act together. And one of the things that really impresses me is that they're all experts. Okay, so, you know, I see each and every one of these guys as technical experts. So they've got really good business acumen. They know how to make things work. They know how to come up with solutions. And they're also very technically inclined as well. Okay. So in working together here, there's a program that we'd like to get going where folks that are qualified, right? Which right now, just loosely, we're saying, you either need to be unemployed or underemployed, a program graduate, or someone that's currently enrolled at Edmonds College that meets that criteria, right? So you're unemployed or underemployed. Okay, so there's going to be 2 entry points into the program as things are currently. Now, it's possible that things can change in the future, but what I'm thinking of right now is that we're going to have 2 entry points. So if you are a graduate of the cyber defense and digital forensics degree, now I want to make sure everyone realizes this used to be called the information security degree. So if you're a graduate of the information security degree, I think that's what we called it maybe 5 or 6 years ago. That's the same degree. It's just that the name has changed. Okay. When we became certified by the NSA and the Department of Homeland Security, we were actually required to incorporate cyber defense in the name of the degree. So that's actually one of the primary reasons why the name was updated. Okay, so the entry point that we're looking at for the degree is completion of CIS 274. And one of the reasons for this is, as many of you know, CIS 274 prepares you for the Security Plus certification. So the objectives of that class really is to get everyone up to a certain standard that's a standard in industry, right? That you're able to perform at a specific level. And then you would be able to enter into the Tradecraft program, which, you know, obviously you don't know a whole heck of a lot about yet. Okay, but trust me, you will. Okay. And then also for the cybersecurity specialist certificate, we would have the same entry point. Now, just really quick here, the primary difference between the two, okay? So we got the cyber defense degree and we got the cybersecurity specialist certificate. Typically, folks that come in and take the certificate are already working in industry. So they're already working in IT. They already have some degree, if you will, of expertise when it comes to cybersecurity, or perhaps they've worked many years in information technology and they want to pivot over to a role now that is cybersecurity centric. Okay. And as I've mentioned to you, those are, so it's really going to be 274. 274 is going to be the entry point. Now, with that being said, those of you that have the Security Plus certification, or let's say you're currently in the digital forensic certificate program, and now you want to go over to, you know, you're here, but you want to go over here and get into the cybersecurity specialist certificate program. I know many of you already possess the Security Plus certification, so we can accept that as proof that you meet the requirement, and you can do a course challenge. A course challenge roughly is $225, $250, and it's just like you took CIS 274. So that's going to be a solution for some of you. Okay, so if you were to enter in at that point CIS 274, and you still needed, say, for example, CIS 277, 278, 279, that would be okay. I actually see the training that you're going to receive not only with the Fish Cloud product, but with 418 Intelligence as complementary. Okay, actually, everything that you would be doing in this program is going to be complementary of what you've already learned at Edmonds. Okay, it's just that you're going to be learning more. You're going to be able to take your skills to the next level, and you're greatly going to widen your horizons as far as the types of positions that you qualify for. You know, one of the really important points that Mr. Jaster brought up in the last presentation that he did was the fact that, you know, when you finish this program, right, you'll be able to talk to a prospective employer on their own level. You'll be able to say, yeah, I've done this. I have experience in incident response. Here's a piece of malware I chased down. Here's a piece of malware that I was involved with where we had to go in and reverse engineer. And we were able to find out this, that, and the other. Many of you are aware of the case Mike and I worked on where there's a piece of malware there that was reporting back to an FTP server in Russia. Okay, these are the types of things that students are going to be able to become involved with. Okay, so now having already done these types of things and you've got the hands-on experience, that's just going to put you way above the rest of the pack. And everybody knows, you know, I say it all the time, in order to get a job out there nowadays in cybersecurity, although there's a lot of jobs available, but there's also a lot of folks putting in for those jobs, you have to set yourself apart from the rest of the pack. And I'll tell you what, this program is going to do just that. This program is going to do just that for you. Okay, so there's just, you know, there's a lot of really exciting things to know, and I'm going to let the experts tell you now about the program. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and be quiet and I'll let them talk. And I believe at this point in time, I will go ahead and turn it over to the Fish Cloud folks. All right.
Thanks for that, Steve. Hi, everyone. My name is JD Klein, and I'm a business development director with Fish Cloud. And spent most of my career in technology, and then was a small business owner for several years. I started with Fish Cloud earlier this year after my small business was hacked and we were compromised. And I went to Terry and the team at Fish Cloud for a solution. That's how I got to know them. But generally, what I've been doing is helping to build out this program and meet people like Steve at Edmonds and Workforce Snohomish to meet a market need, and that is getting you all a better shot at getting interviews and a better shot at getting jobs. And so what I want to do is very briefly just introduce Terry McCorkle, the founder and CEO of Fish Cloud, and Mark Jaster, the founder and CEO of 418 Intelligence. And then I want to turn it over to them and really show you the tools that you're going to be using as you embark on this program. Hopefully we can get a large number of you to sign up and be interested in this. Terry McCorkle, our founder and CEO at Fish Cloud, is a former hacker. He had a non-traditional educational experience and joined the military, and through a series of other roles, became a red team hacker for the Air Force National Guard, where he was sitting on the other side and gained insights about phishing and was able to envision a product that would help people protect themselves. He's going to show you a demonstration of the phishing product that Fish Cloud offers that's actually the source of data for the analysis work that you're going to be doing as students. Kyle Hurst, our CTO, I don't know if Kyle is on here. Kyle came from Amazon many years over there and has built out the cloud infrastructure and the integration with Mark's company at 418. Mark Jaster, again, another veteran along with Terry, a very smart guy. And, it's just been a privilege to work with both of these guys this year, really. Mark runs the program, runs the training platform and the phishing analysis platforms that you'll be using. And he's going to actually show you the tools here in just a few minutes. So that's a quick introduction for Mark and for Terry. What's the problem set that we're trying to address? Like, why are we all here? And that is really to fill the cybersecurity employment gap, is to create a path to the path for so many people who have been challenged to get either gain entry into the industry or move laterally from what they're doing in IT into cybersecurity. It's cybersecurity. It's a giant need, right? There's a global series of attacks going on right now, but yet there are thousands of positions that are unfilled, and employers want on-the-job, work experience. What locks a lot of people who are students out of those roles, and not even getting the interview, not even getting the opportunity. I don't know if these statements, if they're relatable to all of you in your set. We can't pretend to know where you're at. We're just hopeful that this is resonating with what's going on in the marketplace, and that what we're going to show you tonight is a great solution to give you some hope for moving up and in and around into cybersecurity. This is a slide I'm not going to go into depth on, but this is more of an ecosystem view of what we're doing. On the far left is our businesses, industry clusters, schools, government entities that can be participating in the defense community that we're building. Fish Cloud, again, is gaining access to data that's privatized, anonymized. It's analyzing it, sending the data to 418 Intelligence, where the students such as yourselves are being trained as threat hunters. There's two things that are happening as an output of this. Number one, everybody that's running Fish Cloud as an endpoint is updated as to threats that are being seen out there by the work that you're doing. And then secondly, the work that you're doing as interns to be trained puts you in a better position to gain work through the help of economic development boards like Workforce Snohomish that are here. And so I'm going to actually turn this over to Mark Jaster, or excuse me, to Terry McCorkle with Fish Cloud. And he's going to go for about 20 to 30 minutes about Fish Cloud and about the platform and the phishing tools that he's got. He's going to turn that then over to Mark Jaster. Mark, by the way, is joining us from the East Coast where it is late back there. So quick little applause for Mark. Thank you. And Mark's going to show you the platform that he's got for the students. And then we're going to hand it over to Workforce and Homish at the back end of this to talk about requirements for the program, what it takes to join and sign up, and really hoping that many of you will step forward with excitement and interest in learning how to jump into this. So Terry, are you ready to go with a Fish Cloud demonstration?
I am, and I'm actually going to do it via slides tonight.
Okay.
So if I can actually have control to share my slides,
Sure
that
thing.
would be great. Okay, can you see my screen? Great. So thank you for the great introduction, JD. And yes, thank you, Steve, for inviting us and for really coordinating this, and Mark for being such a great partner. Really excited to be showing you guys this tonight, and recognize that while we do sell a product, this is more about the opportunity that exists. So my background, as was mentioned, I joined the military after getting a GED when I was young, and ended up finding an Air National Guard squadron where I got to learn how to be an ethical hacker, and spent 10 years traveling the world hacking into Air Force bases and power grids and all sorts of interesting things. Now, one of the things we always did when we were doing those assessments was phishing, and it always worked. Today, it still works, and it costs companies millions of dollars to respond to these attacks. Ransomware is now being spread actively, and there's a huge need for analysts to look at these attacks and understand where they're coming from so that they can actually be prevented. And Fish Cloud was really created when I recognized that even though I was working on helping protect the power grid, most of the attacks were actually coming in via phishing. And so what I realized is we have to protect the human. We have to be protecting people. And so that's what you guys would be part of, is part of a system that is built with anonymization on the endpoint. And I'll go a little bit into that. So really what we've looked at is, how do we help people be better at detecting phishing, and how do we help organizations also be better at understanding where the risks are coming from at the same time, while recognizing that people want anonymity, they want the ability to protect their data. And so what we've done is we've created a system that in real time highlights links with a green, yellow, or red, helps people understand what's considered safe, what's considered unknown, that yellow, and what's considered good. Now, the yellows is where you guys where everybody would come in, right? Is the yellows get sent to Mark's platform, and then he'll show you how you go through that process of analyzing those links, analyzing those yellow links. But then the output goes back to the desktop, and that means everybody gets the updated information. So this is what Fish Cloud looks like when it's working in real time. As users are browsing the internet, whether they're using any kind of browser, we're designed so that we can actually integrate into any application on the desktop. But this is showing, for example, Chrome. In Chrome, whether you're checking personal email, whether you're in corporate email, or you're on social media, there are threats coming at people from all kinds of different directions. So Fish Cloud's there to provide that little yellow indicator saying there's a risk there. We don't know that this is safe or not. It doesn't mean that it's bad, but that's where we get to actually kind of slow people down. We can also help people in email. We can help people in Edge and using Bing, and we help people in Firefox and DuckDuckGo. So that's a little bit about Fish Cloud and how we're set up to help. But here's a real world example of how this actually helps and how you guys would be involved. This is an attack that happened last December that was actually being targeting people via search engine ads. So they were paying for ads and they had manipulated the ad network so that they were serving up malware via links like this. And we actually saw one of these. Some of the students actually saw those. So because these links were being sent into the analysts platform that you guys are going to see in just a minute, we are able to actively change those types of links from yellow to red and prevent people from making the mistakes. And that's how the community works as a whole. Now, the companies that are on the platform, they also get a lot of analytics around this. They get to see those real-time alerts. They get to see the actual real click rates that users have. So rather than doing phishing simulations, which is what I helped do for years, and causing a lot of disruption to your employees, this is actually helping guide the employees and understanding the true threats at the same time. So getting out of the point in time metrics that a lot of companies have today to real-time metrics so that they can understand where the threats are coming from. And you guys would be an integral part of that. The other part of this is that because we understand those threats, now companies are also able to start assigning training based on the threats that are seen. So you guys will have a key piece in that as well, because we can help identify what kinds of threats are being seen, and that's fed in so that we can help surface better training to the companies so they understand where those threats are coming from. So we integrate with an organization that has different types of education and training that are about 1.5 to 3 minutes. And then it's a very quick, you were just targeted with this. Here's what that looks like. Our platform is built on AWS and Mongo. We use authentication services to make sure that we're actually able to integrate with anybody's authentication, but not actually have to store authentication data. And we anonymize and encrypt all of the data, not only in transit, but also where it sits. So we're making sure that everything's protected there. That's always some of the big questions about our platform. But we've taken the steps to make sure that it's private and that it's stored properly. And we work with 60 different sources to learn about threats, as well as good trends for safe sites on the internet. So that's how we kind of worked with the safety, is we get to rank that from a 0 to 100, and you guys will see where that ties into Mark's platform. And it really helps so that the organizations that are being targeted, they can now see a kind of a level of the threat for each link that they're seeing, and then you guys will be able to help impact those threats and guide organizations all over the place to block or not block these threats. So that's a little bit about FishCloud and how we tie into this. I'm really excited to turn it over to Mark Jaster. Mark has been really working hard to create this program, and we're very excited to support him in this. It's really great to see that, you know, there's so many people joining tonight, and very excited to hear what you think of the program and get you guys all going. So if I can be of any assistance, let me know. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Jaster.
Okay. Terry, thank you. JD, thanks for the nice introduction too. Steve, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? I just want to make sure my audio is okay. All right, good. Everyone, thanks again for your interest in joining tonight. As someone said, maybe JD, I'm calling in from the East Coast. I'm outside the other Washington, which is now becoming crazy town here in Northern Virginia. So it's a little later, but I'm excited to be a part of the other Washington community, and hoping to do some things with all of you that that'll be fun. So I want to ask you to take your mind back a little bit to what Terry showed you, because I want you to recognize that what he showed you were some things like yellow threats. The yellow threat is important because that's like a 0 day in this world. So if you've heard of 0 day threats, think of a yellow threat coming into this system is something that's not yet known to the world. And that's what Terry's system does. It can differentiate the red, the green, the ones that are kind of easy to find from the ones that are not yet known. And that's really important because these are coming directly off of people's desktops and from some other sources. Meaning when you see something coming into the system, I'll show you, you are seeing you're seeing it in its infancy, which means you may be the first person to ever have recognized or been given the opportunity to find something that is a brand new threat that might be ransomware or something like that. So it's relevant to anybody who's interested in security. That's why we connected these systems together, because it's real time, because it's doing that pre-processing automatically, and it's giving us and you access to that kind of information. If you can imagine what that means, that's an incredibly valuable training and just life experience for anyone who wants to get in the field, which blows away most of the questions that you'll have in an interview with real world hands-on experience. That's the whole idea. So simple idea. Think about that. Think about the desktop Terry showed you, which had some graphs. That is very similar to many security technologies you'll see, and you'll be able to work with that. In other words, when he talked about a company seeing things, project yourself into the experience of being the person that's going to tell a company that doesn't have a security analyst what this means to them. That's the opportunity you've got here. And then think about those training videos he showed. You're going to be a part of taking the meaning of a finding like a new threat that might be coming to hospitals or school systems in Snohomish County, and making that abstract notion something real, that's something that they can train on and have their employees get smart about as it's happening in real time. That's what's so kind of interesting about this program, and how working together these systems and your role, if you join and want to go through this, it can be meaningful to you and to everybody who's participating. It's also why we call it community defense, because you're not just passively doing schoolwork. You're not passively doing laboratories. You're not just reading materials that you need to know to become a professional. You're doing, and the doing that you're doing can have an impact in your community. So with that, I'll just say a few words. I didn't come to cybersecurity through the normal means. I came at it because I was working in the intelligence community on crowdsourcing technology. You're going to see how we've taken crowdsourcing technology, which many of you have probably heard about, how we've taken things called prediction markets and ways to bet on what you think you know and what you can find in a hunt, and turn that not into real cybersecurity information, but also essentially a game experience that gives you a way to score yourself and your peers and interact directly with them and other experts globally, quite literally. So let me just jump in and get started. All right, I'm going to show you a few slides before I jump over to a live view. If I can actually find my presentations, which have gotten hidden from me. 1 second. Gonna have to go pull something up into the foreground. Let's see if I can still give you the slides. Can't tell you why, but oh, here we go. 1 second. Hit itself all the way at the bottom of my desktop. Okay. Let's see. Can you all see my screen? Yeah, thank you, Leslie.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to give you a quick introduction before we jump over to a live demo. We call this program the Tradecraft Program because it starts with, kind of after review of some basic fundamentals, which you probably all know, and that's what we hope. You're really going to start with a immersion into what adversaries are doing to perform attacks. So you learn the tradecraft of the hacker. That's why we call the program Tradecraft, and it starts there because you're going to be looking at live, real-world things that are breaking news today. And because it's live, because it's based on real attacks, and there's more than just phishing data that you'll learn about, but it's because it's real, you can translate those experiences into experiences that are very employable, as well as meaningful to you and the others that are involved, which is why this number is defensible. In our first pilot, which we did in Eastern Kentucky, where they used to go underground to mine coal, but they don't have those jobs anymore. We took people that had no experience in cybersecurity, not typically anywhere close to the preparation that Edmunds has given you in the field. And within less than 6 months, got them fully qualified and hired as full-time security analysts for managed security services providers, working remotely from their homes, making good money for Eastern Kentucky in the mid-60s. So that's the difference that this can have for you. That's the idea of the whole program. That's why Workforce Snohomish is such an enthusiastic partner in this, is because the notion and the experience we've had taking people over, kind of through the barrier of what the job market is looking for with real hands-on data, and getting them placed, getting them into jobs that can start them towards a very fulfilling career. You're going to do that not only because the data that you're getting is real and useful, but because you'll work jointly directly with practitioners, both people that will go through to teach some content, maybe review for many of you, but also coaches, essentially live coaches, and maybe some mentors from local companies that interact with us and with you through our platform that has essentially a collaboration capability, kind of like a chat or Slack, but not quite as capable since it's still in the startup phase. But think about the idea of being able to, in real time, ask a community of people that have either your coach or your mentor that you can direct a question to specifically on something you're doing, or ask them to review your work, or somebody who might be an expert in a particular adversary that you think you might have spotted, and you want to get to somebody who's actually seen that before. That's what you're going to be able to do. You're going to be right in the middle of the world, and this is kind of a viewer for that for you. And we're doing this in partnership with colleges like Edmunds and with workforce organizations like Snohomish, so that we can give more people the opportunity to get into this job field. And you're most likely going to go through this track here, which means you start with the program that you've been studying at Edmunds. You'll go through, and I'll give you a little background on the curriculum. You'll go through roughly about a month of some coursework with tutorials and labs, and then you'll spend 3-4 months, roughly, I think 3 months the way we've structured this program, in a live internship. Snohomish, Workforce Snohomish is going to fund all that, as well as stipends. So you'll hear more from I believe from Heidi later on that. And when you finish our program, you're going to at least have some certifications from MITRE Corporation, which are cutting edge certifications about learning how to understand cyber attacks and how to use that in an actual professional context that everyone who's advanced in the industry will recognize immediately. I saw a question about Comptia. I'll let Steve or someone from Edmunds address that. You won't be given Comptia coursework during our program, but the idea here is if you can get that, plus what we give you, you should be able to secure an entry-level cyber threat analyst job in the mid 60s roughly, or perhaps more, depending on your background upon graduation. And we'll be doing everything we can to help place you through this whole program as well. So please, if you have questions on any of that, which I'm sure you will, add them to the chat and we'll talk about them at the end. So the experience you should expect is for a month and a half, you will be working through tutorials and labs and in all these topics you see here. I won't go through them, but you'll probably recognize most of them. We're going to spend off and on quite a bit of time talking about different types of attacks and the methods that attackers use. That is, again, why we call it Tradecraft. But you'll also learn the basic tools if you haven't seen them before, and have the time to practice them and apply them in a real work context. That includes weekly briefings and tool time with coaches. And you'll be doing some of this yourself, teaching each other, teaching the sponsors that might be employers in the region, performing briefings on threats that you've learned about. You'll get mock interviews from some of our practitioner experts. And during the final several months, you'll participate in these full-time internships where you'll conduct work in our system. You'll perform live analysis, you'll collaborate with other experts and with coaches, and you'll participate in actual threat and incident reporting, at least. Might or might not get actually into actual incident response. I'll give you, proof positive that this can work. In our cohort I was telling you about in Kentucky, within 1 week of the students getting into this phase here, the live internship, they had spotted an actual browser hijacker session hijacking campaign coming out of China that was pretending to be a Florida-based company that was landing in an inbox or in a browser session of a particular staff person in a community college in Eastern Kentucky. So from China through Cyprus, through pretending to be in Florida, it had landed on her desktop, and she had no idea because it wasn't actually something she clicked on, but FishCloud saw it. Because FishCloud saw it and it was unknown, it went to our back end, and our analysts took a look at it and started to recognize that it looked suspicious, and without going through all the details, determined it to be a Chinese campaign with common software or malware that had been blacklisted last year because of downloading behavior. He quickly determined that it was malicious. So as he turned it red, basically through his input in the system, that propagated through the whole network in FishCloud and this was the first week of the program. And this was actually, I should have said, a threat that none of the big virus engines had yet seen. Within 2 days, it had shown up on a desktop in Seattle, because you can imagine people in your region are running Terry's software. And I spotted it accidentally when I almost clicked on it in Google Drive as it was trying to get me to use it as a viewer for videos. So in almost no time, we had seen real world evidence that it was spreading. Now the guys who found that, they were hired by a managed security services provider on the basis of that experience and other things they did. Those people's company now has seen this threat so much in their own customers, which are managed services provider companies on their own, that they've had to create a special signature for it. They've had to create a special orchestrated response plan, and it has made them somewhat rock stars coming into the company. So that's the reality of what we're talking about, is being able to be part of the experience from the beginning. So you'll go through all that. You'll also have some time to learn the MITRE attack framework, which is important for your future, and you'll get certified. Let me tell you a little bit about the certs. You will should all be certified by the end in MITRE Attack Defender, called MAD, with 2 different certs, one cyber threat intelligence, the other securities operations center assessment. You'll learn basically how to use their framework or their way of modeling cyber attacks, and then you'll use that directly in our platform in your work. You'll also get certified through my company and a partner of ours, ISACOM, which stands for Institute of Security and Open Source Methods. We'll certify you in a new cert we're putting together with them called the Certified First Defender, but we also expect to offer you some micro certs at the in SOC analyst techniques. So we're still putting some of that together, but you will come out of this with some certifications that you can put on your resume, and those will help you. Again, you saw this before, so I won't really cover this again. In addition to PhishCloud, you will potentially see some other kinds of data from network intrusion detection systems and from log files. Other than that, we've already talked about this, so I'll just move on. One way to think about this personally is a person that was in our first group from Kentucky. He was a military veteran, as many of us have been. He had an associate's degree in IT and had been looking for a job in IT for 4 or 5 years when he came to our program. And within 6 months, he and others were all hired as remote analysts for one of the largest managed security services providers in the country at a wage that, at least in Eastern Kentucky, is more than double the average wages for his county. And at this point, he's buying a new home. So life-changing experience, and it's all because that real live data that you can work with and the ability to be scored and to be working with others collaboratively, so you can learn quickly what people need to learn in order to become a professional in cybersecurity, starting with adversary knowledge, collaboration in a game experience, with skills that are hands-on, that'll be scored, and with basically the outcomes of ready to go to the job market. I'll show you what the platform looks like, and then we'll go to a live demo if my sharing is going to cooperate. This is Foresight. This is the platform that you'll spend a lot of your time in. And what it's showing here, you'll see in a minute, is how you operate as an analyst. You'll pick up a threat. In this case, you're looking at potentially malicious URLs, but you could also be looking at some other things, like whether phishing, like malware and phishing. But you'll usually start with a URL that's coming to us from PhishCloud and some other sources. Typically, you won't have a bounty or a timer on it, but this is to show that this is possible. And you'll be investigating these. We'll show you how that works. As you investigate them, you are entering basically evidence that you found something, and you're putting a score in. This is showing that the starting probability of this particular threat URL was 74% likely at the current point when the analyst picked it up, with some new evidence that you can't see here, but I'll show you. She had raised the probability from 74% to 86% because of something she found. You'll see how that's done. And what these numbers here are telling you is this is how it's gamified. This is how it helps you to understand just how much confidence you want to put on this number, because you're going to have to put 132 points of your balance in order to make that change. And if you're correct, you're going to win an extra 40 points. So you get a payoff. If you're wrong, you're going to end up losing that. In other words, it's always asking you to make sure that you know what you're doing and you have confidence, and to use as much information as you can find and offer as much confidence as you feel comfortable, because the more you can do and the bigger the spread you can cover, the more you get in return for that, and the further you go up the leaderboard, as well as show your capabilities. So last slide before we go to the demo. Your experience starts with looking at threat data or with cases that could have been designed because of a campaign having been found, for example, that you might work on as a team. You'll get threat intelligence on these threats, and we use some AI methods, as does Terry's company, to give you sort of a lift on where you're starting your work. You are incentivized to do something with that information and turn it into something more valuable, which is a judgment on a threat. And in this case, you're going to be incentivized with points. But if you stay with us, and if we go where the company is going, this is a freelancing platform as well. So downstream, you might become interested and qualified to become a bounty hunter, maybe finding real world evidence of ransomware the first time, so that you can register that for a bounty and actually earn some freelance supplementary income on top of whatever else you're doing. So it's a way to start to earn some income downstream. And then you get to collaborate with people. That's part of the whole experience, whether you're doing live work as a freelancer or whether you're learning. Okay, so with that, let me go live and show you what this thing looks like when it's seeing something real. Let's see, I have to go try that one. Yep. Okay, I don't know, Denise, could you give me another thumbs up if you can see a desktop on top on my screen now? Are you able to see what I'm sorry, that's Leslie. Could you show me, can you see
We're seeing a defense.
Good, perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, let me get I have to get my thumbnails out of the way. Okay, so here's defense. I'm gonna do a quick refresh, see whether anything new has come in the last hour or so since we've been starting the call. Hopefully I didn't just mess it up. No, good, everything's working. So this is live, this is going out. It's looking for new threats, if any have come in from Terry's system. And what you see here is 3 hours ago, this threat was introduced to the system. This is a URL, has a downloadable, looks like, well, a PHP file attached to it. Take a quick look at it, see what it says. This one has been reported as having some malware, suspected Loki bot, which is a botnet, and possible command and control. So real world stuff, not simulated. This is coming out of a source that we have, as well as Terry's, to enrich the feed with some other sources, so we keep giving you good high quality threats. Here's another green one down here. If you look closely at this one, let me go ahead and open it up. If you look closely, this is coming out of Russia. This came in earlier tonight. Yep, maybe a few hours ago, or was it yesterday? Let me check. Yesterday, came in yesterday from Terry's system. That's why you can see it says Fish Cloud. It's from Russia. It has some suspicious characteristics. So it came in unknown, but we've already looked at it and started to grade it. The higher these scores are here, the more likely you are to be looking at something malicious. So let's pick up this one, for example, to start. It's already turned green because I activated it for this demo. You can see that the system is telling you that it was activated 1 hour ago by the user who's got the username Defense Central, and the activation reason was Fish of the Day. It's an interesting one because we already knew that it was detected as having Lokibot. So let's take a quick look and see what happens when we try and find. I did some work on this one. Is that the right one? Yes, egoblatica.xyz. You'll also learn that domains like top level domains like XYZ tend to be more likely to be malicious than other domains. So you'll be taught how to start recognizing what things just with your naked eye. But in this case, you'll also be given tools like this tool set here, which I used maybe an hour or so ago to see what this was about. And you can kind of see down here, if you look at these reports here, some red, this means that Google Safe Browsing has reported it as unsafe. This means in another system. So this is just emerging, really sometime within the last 24 hours, starting to get some interesting colors. A red one here, when was that? 2 months ago. And this was coming from the same, these are similarities. So this is automatically looking for similar hits. In this case, I think it had the same IP address. So we won't go through a lot of this, but you'll see that you can start to recognize as an analyst that there's something more likely to be potentially suspicious about this URL than your average URL, and you'll want to start investigating it. So you're going to do this live. You're going to start to work with all of these. You'll use tools that let you look at for similar sites across, through history. These were only in the last few days, you can tell here. So as an analyst, this is an extremely valuable experience for you to start to see how the real world starts to evolve. And we'll go back to this other, I'll release this and I'll go back to the one that I think we saw from Terry's system. This one here, this one's out of Russia. Let's see what we found when I looked up that one, because I believe I've got, yeah, here we go. Now, this is an interesting one because it had just come out, what was it, maybe yesterday? And as I started to look at this is showing you a screenshot of that it's under construction. There's an awful lot of different web pages that are having this same artwork. And as I just started looking at it since we began, and these are real, 24 minutes ago, you can see that the same subnet, different IP, but in this same subnet range, there's quite a lot of phishing activity going on. These are Outlook 365 pages. So, and you can tell they're starting to turn red, and the information is very, very fresh. Here's some other Outlook campaigns. You're going to have access to these tools. So you'll be doing this work and you'll be taking those kind of findings back to our platform here called Foresight, and you'll be starting to enter reports in. We call them case notes. So you would find something like this report here. You would copy its URL, and you would create a report on it. Can't think of a good title for it right now, but you take a report on it. You would post the source in, save it, and now you've started to create a threat report. And that's what you're doing. You're collecting information. You'll take that threat report and you might say, well, I think based on that, I'm going to give it a rationale and I'm going to push it to 60% because it's not clearly malicious, but it looks like it might be. And you have to give it a rationale. And that's how you would start that. Once you do that, everyone who's using this is going to see your report, your judgment in real time, and that they can pick it up and start working on it themselves. Maybe you decide that, hey, I need to find someone who is an expert at Russian campaigns. So you can't see this here, but in our dev environment, you'll be able to pull up a little tool which says, give me, reach out to anybody who's an expert in Russian adversaries and post them a message. That message will come to their inbox, kind of like Slack, and they'll be posted a message to say, hey, this person, this user over here in this question, which is where you would post the request for help is looking for help on somebody who's a Russian expert because he or she thinks that they've just spotted this adversary working on this particular URL. And that can be a global community. That's the reality. So let's see, what else can I show you quickly? I'll show you some of the evidence of a few, I've got to release that. I'll show you the evidence of what it looks like when you've been collaborating actively with others, and Rodham, I think, is one I can find. So, and Rodham.buzz, this in our very, very first campaign, our very first pilot in Louisiana, we found this URL operating out of Fish Cloud sensors. It was downloading Russian malware. It was live, it was happening in real time. And I'll just tell you, when you look at all of the chatter that was going on about this is 3 or 4 different analysts. One of these was a student in university in the Bayou of Louisiana, working with analysts in London and in India, all in real time, all investigating this and working through what was called a polymorphic campaign because it was hiding itself as it was being investigated. So you'll learn that you get scored. So you'll play around on the leaderboard. You'll see your score go up and down. That score is related to what you see here in the scoring column. In your case, you probably will be given your own name. Others that are from outside organizations will have a code name by default, and you'll get you'll get other sources of information, such as how to use the MITRE framework called attack to investigate an attack. Let's say you found something that was a brute force, that was doing a brute force attack right away. And so maybe you're working in an IBS. So quickly you can use our system to say, if I know brute force and maybe I have found that it's that it is mucking with the procedure file system, what else looks like that? What else in all the world of all of the defense industry has seen those two threats, those two what's called TTPs before? And with that quick lookup, you can see that there are 9 different types of software that have been found to be using those 2 particular techniques. And there are 8 different adversary groups here. And so, for example, one of them is the Russian SVR. These are the guys who hacked into the Democratic National Committee servers in the 2016 campaign. And you're going to be right in the middle of this, one click away from lots of information that tells you everything about APT 39, Russian SVR, what they do, what we know about them. That's what we're talking about. So I'll pause now and see if you all have questions. We can go back and look at the platform more. But the idea here is to give you a viewer into the real world of cyber threats and a way that you can put your own stamp on that experience and take the tools that will teach you down into your desktop and VMs, analyzing these malware as they're dropped on your system, doing the real work, and in a couple months have a portfolio that can go to any employer and convince them that you can do the job that they're managing people to do and looking for new talent in. So hopefully that was useful. Please let me know if you have questions, Steve. If you have any thoughts before we turn it over to Heidi to talk about how Workforce Snohomish is going to support this program. Over to you. You're on mute.
Okay, do we have any questions in chat that we can answer there? Leslie, Michelle, Brian?
So far,
we've got questions basically about the requirements for the program, and then something that came in recently. Could you talk about, Mark, you were talking about using the platform as a freelancer. Could you go into that in more depth?
Sure. That's coming probably the next latter half of next year. It'll work like this. We'll be ingesting a huge fire hose of new threats, as well as the threats coming out of the Fish Cloud system. And we're working with Fish Cloud to start to process those. Those are coming out of enterprises and out of individuals across the country and out of our DHS organization called US CERT. Will that body of actual threats will get investigated by a crowdsourced analyst community that you could be a part of. And as we develop this business model, your scores, your ability to find that threat, put a judgment on it, and report it will be offered as to a marketplace of companies that need to get insight on late-breaking threats. So let's say you have hunted down ransomware. Our intent is to take that finding and put a bounty on it that is shared directly with the finder of the ransomware. It's similar to a model that anyone you might have heard of before, some of you called bug bounties. In this case, you'd be a part of the first breach or threat bounty model. And your scores that you saw there that are part of you finding evidence and being credited for that will be your claim on a bounty that's associated with that particular threat that you would find. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so this is something that someone could do part-time or like a night shift or odd
Yes.
hours.
Exactly, right. And it's another way that we think we can help with, bring people into the cyber workforce as a part-timer, just like you said.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and just real quick here. Let's see here. Muhammad wants to know about SOC certification. Muhammad, you finished the program at Edmonds, from what I recall. So I don't think that would be an issue for you. If you've got some specific questions for me, we can certainly talk about those. I know that you're working at Boeing now, and quite possibly you can get some credit for your work experience as well. But that's something I'll be more than glad to discuss with you. And then Thomas, how can I obtain a Security Plus cert through Edmonds? Okay, so just want to make sure that this is clear. As things are right now, right? It's going to be more than just a Security Plus cert. You have to be either someone that has completed the 2-year degree, the security specialist certificate, or somebody that is currently enrolled in either of those programs, and you have completed 274, CIS 274, or you're in the process of completing CIS 274. Now, it's possible that these requirements can change in the future. As far as Edmonds, I'm not talking about what you have to do to qualify as far as workforce is concerned. That's going to be addressed here in a bit. But as far as Edmonds the stance that Edmonds College is taking right now, you would have had to have either the 2-year degree, the security specialist certificate, or enrolled in those programs. Okay, so yeah, it's more than just having the Security Plus certification. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. And let's see here. Got quite a few questions here. I believe these are from Stephen Turpak. And I don't know if Mr. Turpak is still on. Let me see here. Are you still on there, Mr. Turpak? Okay, so I will address these questions with Mr. Turpak. He wants to know if he should finish his 4-year degree before getting involved in the program. My answer to that would be no. There's no requirement to finish your 4-year degree. Now there is a question about physicality. Now, based on what I have learned so far, this work can be done remotely. Okay, is this correct, Mark, Terry?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as physicality, you're not going to have to relocate to Seattle. However, understand this is through Workforce Snohomish. So, and you know, I'm not an expert in this area, but I would believe at the very least that you'd have to be a resident of Washington in order to be eligible for this program. But we will let we'll let the experts address that. Let me see here.
A couple of the questions were about how long the training is, and then whether that training is remote.
Okay, well, I'll let Mark and Terry go and respond to that.
Yeah, you'll get some training on the systems themselves, like you know, how to administer Fish Cloud, how to operate our Foresight platform, but you'll also get tutorials live online. So everything will be essentially a virtual training experience. And if you've gotten used to that from the pandemic, won't be any different. When you're doing work in our platform, you're going to be, you know, working under your own sort of managing yourself and creating the information in our platform that gets you the best outcomes for yourself. So it's important for you to be able to concentrate, but it'll all be remote. And when you need to reach out to, say, coaches, which is all part of what you'll get access to, that'll be done remotely too. And, you know, through us and through a Slack type of experience, which is how we typically support the direct face-to-face, if you will.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, cool. And yeah, so, you know, folks, as you can tell, this is just a tremendous opportunity here. Scott Sparling is a software. No, you'll not need to buy the software, Scott. The software is going to be supplied to you, so there's nothing. Is a matter of fact, there really isn't anything that you have to buy. So, as far
I
as
was just going
Ada,
to say, Mark, there's a lot of questions around whether people remain full-time students or full-time employees while going through the program. That seems to be where a lot of people. So, is it something they can balance, or would you expect that they could balance being in the internship and having something else that they have to take care of?
Very good question. I think we probably need to review that with Workforce Snohomish. Very good question. I think the student, sorry, is somebody trying to talk, or am I getting feedback?
Well, Ish, your headphones are not doing great.
yikes.
We're getting a lot of feedback.
Maybe a better question is how many hours per week would be required to participate in the internship?
Well, the support level that's offered is full-time. So I think those who could devote full-time to it will get the most out of it. I think this might not be the right program if somebody's got a full-time job. If they're a student, I think that's probably reasonable. But again, we need to discuss that with Workforce Snohomish to make sure what they're planning to do with this for the region is supported.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, cool.
Can you hear me better now? Is my microphone working?
Much better.
Thank you. We will go into that into a little bit more details. But generally, if you are a full-time employee, you are not qualifiable for your programs. So we will go into that into a part of the presentation. Maybe we can hold on to those questions until after Heidi and I go over, because the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is a re-employment program. And if somebody is already employed, it's hard to justify re-employing them while they're already employed and paying for the training.
Okay, folks, I went ahead and put in the chat there a link to a form that I'd like you to fill out if you're interested in the program. And there's also some space there as well if you have specific questions. And so I'd like to go and do that now just to make sure Workforce Snohomish folks have their opportunity to do their part of the presentation. Obviously, if there's time left over, we can answer some more of your questions. I also want to let students know, feel free to send me your questions directly. Now, I am off for the break, but I'll certainly get on those as soon as I'm back. Okay, which probably is going to be next year. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and put your questions into the form there, we'll go ahead and get those answered as quickly as possible. Okay, so with that, and I'll also send out an email, folks. I'll send out one final email that has a link to the form as well, and a few different ways to contact me, because I do want to make sure if you've got some burning questions, you're really interested at this point, that we can take care of you. Okay, so at this point, let's go ahead and turn things over to Workforce Snohomish. If that does that sound good, Terry? Mark? Okay, all right.
Thank you, Steve, Terry, Mark, JD, thank you very much. This is an excellent opportunity. Before I turn it over to Heidi, I wanted to just say a few words about Workforce Snohomish and what it is exactly that we do. Workforce Snohomish oversees the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funds in Snohomish County. We are the fiscal agent of the local Workforce Development Board, and we oversee what we call WIOA Title I programs inside the WorkSource in Snohomish County. That is WorkSource Everett and WorkSource Lindsay. And the programs that we have been talking about in this call are in particular the WIOA Adult and the WIOA Dislocated Worker Program, which are reemployment program funded by the Department of Labor, passed through the state that we oversee locally to upskill job seekers, to provide them new skills, to refresh their skills, to provide them work experiences in order to get them into unsubsidized employment. And Heidi is going to go into a presentation to give you a little more about WIOA and how that works here in this county. And with that, I will turn it over to Heidi.
Thank you for that overview, Ish. My name is Heidi Schabel. I'm the manager of adult and dislocated worker programs with Workforce Snohomish, which is a long way of saying that I oversee two of the reemployment programs in the WorkSource system in Snohomish County that provide one-to-one support with employment and training goals. Let me share my screen here. All right, so today I will be giving an overview of the program, how it works, what some of the benefits are, but I will not be going into a whole lot of detail, and you will need to attend a WIOA orientation if you are interested in learning more and enrolling in the program. I will show you how to access these orientations and how to register for them in advance here in a little bit after I give an overview of what WIOA is. As Ish mentioned, WIOA stands for the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. It is a federal source of funds that help support the programs that allow you to get reemployed. So the WorkSource system is also open to anyone, regardless of eligibility for the two specific programs that Ish mentioned. I will be talking about the adult and dislocated worker program specifically tonight, but I do want to give an overview of some of the resources that are available in WorkSource to anyone who needs support. We are open to the public. We do recommend making an appointment if you want to come into one of the WorkSource locations at either Everett or Linwood. But if you come in, you will have access to computers, printers, and internet, Microsoft Office software, some resume building tools, and full-time professionals that can answer some questions and provide you some direction with your job search. So regardless of whether you decide you want to enroll in the adult or dislocated worker program, WorkSource is a resource to you that you can access both in person and virtually at this time. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what WIOA is and what it's designed to do. We are a no-cost intensive reemployment program designed to give eligible job seekers support they need to find employment. If you decide to enroll into this program, you will partner with a reemployment specialist that will help you identify what, when, and how to achieve your reemployment goals. You will be assigned an employment specialist that will manage you as part of their caseload. What that means is that they will be with you from the beginning of enrollment. They will help you create a participant plan that includes your individual employment goals, and then work with you to work towards that goal throughout the length of the plan. This program can help increase participants' likelihood of steady employment, retention, and earnings. It also helps employers hire and retain skilled workers. A couple of the ways that we help with reemployment is we do provide funding for training and support services as needed to help you gain self-sufficient employment. In addition to providing some funds for specific training programs, they do need to be approved training programs. We also offer some support services that can help with that. Again, it's based on need, but some examples of what support services are may be, for example, if transportation is a barrier, we may be able to provide some limited funds to help you with transportation along your job search or to and from training. In addition to specific funding for training and support services, we also offer paid work experiences. These are work-based training and work-based learning programs, including the internships that have been already highlighted today. In addition to internships that can be paid, there's also on-the-job training, transitional job, disaster recovery jobs, and apprenticeships. So these are multiple ways that you can earn an income while you're still learning. I'm not going to go into the weeds with eligibility today, but I am going to speak to who these programs are designed for and what some of the basic eligibility requirements are. Not everyone is eligible for these programs, but there are multiple ways to eligibilize somebody under these two categories. The first of which is the Dislocated Worker Program. This program is designed for folks that have been laid off or terminated due to no fault of their own and are either unemployed or underemployed. So if you have been laid off recently and received unemployment benefits, that is one form of documentation that can be used to show that you are eligible for this program. Again, there are multiple categories under here to eligibilize somebody under the Dislocated Worker Program, but it is designed for folks that have been terminated or laid off due to no fault of their own and are either underemployed or unemployed. The second program is called the Adult Program. It's designed for folks that are 18 years or older, eligible to work in the United States, and experience barriers to employment. This program, there's also multiple ways to become eligible, but some of the most common ways are to show eligibility are that folks are eligible for public assistance, such as food benefits. Again, there are multiple types of barriers that folks may experience and can be used to eligibilize somebody, but those are some of the most common ways that we document that somebody is eligible for the Dislocated Worker Program. Again, these both are reemployment programs, so they are designed for people that are either not employed or are underemployed. And both of these programs work to help you become employed into self-sufficient employment. We also have additional services designed for veterans or spouses of a veteran. So if you attend the orientation and decide you want to initiate the enrollment process, do make sure that the employment specialist that you are assigned to knows that you're a veteran, and make sure to include that on any of the paperwork that you receive, because it may make you qualified for some additional resources and support. So if you decide that you are interested in WIOA and would like to take advantage of the opportunity to work with an employment specialist to get that one-on-one support with career counseling and job search, as well as potentially funds for training and work-based learning or work-based training opportunities, the first thing you're going to need to do is attend a WIOA orientation. They will go more in depth into what the eligibility criteria is, what paperwork you need to fill out. It is a federally funded program, so there are some hoops that you're going to need to jump through, and the enrollment process can take some time. I'll give a brief overview tonight of what some of those may look like, but do attend the orientation so that you can have some of your questions answered, get a better idea of what that process looks like from start to finish, and make sure that you are eligible for the program before you decide to fill out the paperwork. In addition to attending a WIOA orientation, you will also need to set up a profile in worksourcewa.com. This website is a great resource for job seekers. In addition to operating as a job search board, it's actually the largest job search board that is free both to employers and to job seekers in the state. You can also access a bunch of career tools and job search resources. You can also store, I believe, up to 3 different versions of your resumes, keep track of all the applications that you've submitted, etc. So it's a really good resource, and it is a requirement to enrolling into the WIOA program. You will need to make sure to set up that profile during the enrollment process or prior to. So before going into the enrollment process, I do want to show you how to access those orientations. So some of you may recognize this flyer for the event tonight. If you scroll to the bottom here, under step 2, there's a link to our WIOA flyer. This flyer provides just a general overview of the services we provide, so employment and job search assistance, temporary employment opportunities to gain experience and increase your job skills, education, training, and support services, as well as connection to additional community resources. So if you look in this box down here, it gives you 2 different ways that you can access the WIOA orientation. One is a little shortcut that we've set up on worksourceonline.com. So if you put this website into your browser, we've created a shortcut on top here that says if you've recently lost your job and want to attend a rapid response event, click here. Or if you'd like to attend a WIOA orientation, you can click the second link here. Thinking about it. Excuse the slow internet. This will bring you directly to a condensed calendar that only shows the orientation schedule. If you click the link right here, it will navigate you to the site where you can register for orientation. This is probably the quickest pathway to get you to where you need to go, but I will also show you the other pathway because it can also show you other workshops that we have available in addition to the WIOA orientation. So it's also spelled out in that flyer that I just showed you, but if you go to worksourcewa.com, under the Career Tools tab, you'll see the Workshops and Hiring Events button here. Then follow the Workshops tab. Narrow by Snohomish County. And then you can see a list of all of the workshops that are offered to job seekers in our system. So if there's anything else that piques your interest, feel free to sign up for those. But if you keep scrolling, eventually you will come down to the online WIOA orientation with the sign up button here. Again, it is every Monday from 1 to 2 p.m. virtually. So during that orientation, they will go more in depth into the eligibility requirements and give you more support going through these forms. But there are a series of forms that they will need to collect from you prior to, during, and after enrollment, including some enrollment forms, some assessment forms, I-9 documentation, proof of selective service registration, and a self-sufficiency calculator to get an idea of your current income versus your current expenses.
Just to interrupt for a second here, Heidi, the I-9 documentation is just something to prove that you're eligible to work in the United States. Because it's funded by the Department of Labor.
Thank you for that clarification, Ish. So we collect I-9 documentation to show that you are eligible to work in the United States. And then once the documentation has been received, you will receive a referral to an employment specialist that will reach out to you, determine whether you are eligible for the program, and discuss your specific needs before going into your specific employment plan. So I do want to give you an idea of some types of the documentation that will be required to enroll. You will need to show proof of either US citizenship or eligibility to work in the United States. You will need to complete some enrollment forms, provide verification of eligibility, which could potentially be state assistance or unemployment insurance. They can help you collect these documents if you need that support. They'll also need access to your work history and previous occupation. Like I mentioned before, you will need to set up a WorkSource WA profile and provide the appropriate I-9 documentation. Some examples of I-9 documents include an ID card, birth certificate, driver's license, passport, social security card, or other types of documents based on your individual circumstances. You will need to go through some initial career and vocational counseling needs assessments. This is a federally funded program, so it is a requirement for males that were born after January 1st, 1960 to show proof of registration with selective service. They can also help with this process. There's a pretty quick lookup function online where you can see whether or not you have registered for selective service. And this applies to males born after January 1st, 1960. They will also ask for a copy of your resume and an explanation of your job search efforts to date. And they will provide a tool that we call the self-sufficiency calculator. And you will also need to provide a printout of those results. So as I mentioned before, it is a federally funded program. There are some hoops to jump through. So I like to manage expectations and let you know upfront what types of documents are going to be needed through your enrollment process. The sooner you can access these documents and have them ready, the less delays there will be to that enrollment process and completing the paperwork in a timely manner. All right, so that brings me to the end here. I'm happy to show you again how to sign up for the orientation if you need another recap there. But we are a re-employment program. We do provide one-on-one support with career counseling, job search, and as needed funds for support services, training, and work-based training and learning opportunities depending on the individual's needs for those that are eligible and decide to enroll in the program. So if, go ahead, Ish.
I wanted to answer one question that was brought up earlier when Steve was presenting. It's about whether or not you need to be a resident of Snohomish County. Unfortunately, the answer is yes. So Washington State is divided into 12 local workforce development areas. Seattle King County is a local workforce development area. Snohomish County is a local workforce development area. Spokane is a local workforce development area. And some local workforce development areas are made of 4 or 5 counties. The way the law structure is that you enroll into WIOA in the county that your local workforce development area is in. So if you live in Seattle, for example, you enroll with the WorkSource Seattle King County, which there's a bunch of WorkSource centers in Seattle King County, and they're able
So
to
I have
provide.
to work with King County is where I live in. So I have to work with King County is what you're telling me?
Unfortunately, we are not able to enroll job seekers who live in King County in our local area. That's their written permission. So Heidi, can you take this customer's name and follow up with them directly and try to connect with Seeking, see if there's a way we can work with him?
Yeah, I'm happy to take their information down and see if we can connect them to Seeking. I will say that there are occasionally exceptions for people that live on the border of King and Snohomish County.
Yeah.
For example, people that live closer to WorkSource Linwood, that makes the most sense to be served at that location because it's closer than the other locations down in King County. We are able to make some exceptions for those folks.
Your
but
line is the same. Yes.
Same
So
thing.
I would say for anybody that's that looking to find a way to get an exception, go ahead and put your name in the
Yeah.
tool as interested, and let's find a way to work with you. That's what this is about. And it doesn't help for anyone else who doesn't live anywhere near Snohomish County. We're trying to bring this program into King and Pierce very soon as well. The pilot with Edmonds is really the first beachhead for the entire program in the state of Washington. So coming soon to a theater near you. We're just not there yet.
Yes. Thank you, JD. And like I said, share the information with Heidi. We will connect with the local area where you live and see if we can work with them. That's what we need to do in this case.
Okay, so yeah, just one thing that I want to make clear here. Looks like we got some negative Nancy's here in the chat. So no one is saying at this point in time that it won't work out for anyone in King County. What they're saying is that this is something that needs to be looked into. We've got a team of very smart folks here, intelligent people. We all want everybody that has an opportunity to be involved in the program, obviously to be involved in the program. So there definitely are some details yet to be worked out. Okay, as was just said, Edmonds is going to be on the forefront of this, and we're going to be the first college to actually run this program. So there are still some details to be worked out, folks. And I can guarantee that if I have any say in it, I mean, if there's anything that I can do to, encourage, perhaps increased eligibility for my students, I will certainly do that within, whatever we can do legally. So, all right. So just go ahead and hold on. Be sure to, if you're interested in the program, be sure to submit your name on the form. And if you didn't catch the form, I'll be sending that out tonight once the video is processed. Okay. So.
Question before you keep on going. I just wanted to make sure if chapter 31 is going to actually education for the GI Bill, it's going to conflict, or am I coming in clearly?
Yeah, I didn't quite understand your question, Steve. Could you state it again?
I'm not 100% certain if I'm coming in clearly, but I was wondering if because of my internet's unstable, I'm going to type it. Is that okay?
Sure. Is this something maybe you could send me in an email, my friend, and I'll just make sure that it gets answered?
He's just wondering if it's going to conflict with the veterans program he's already in.
Without even being, without really being an expert in that subject, I don't see how it could, because the workforce is a separate program from that.
The answer is we are not sure. I think that we will need you to go to a video orientation and speak to an employment specialist because some federal funds cannot be used at the same time and some can. So the best person to answer that question for you, Stephen, is to attend that video orientation. Is virtual. Ask the question of the experts in that room. They'll be able to answer your question.
Okay, cool. Cool.
If
So
I can, hey, Steve, can I make a comment really about the statewide issues? Is
yeah, of course, man.
it's understandable to be frustrated about the county requirements, and it's also reasonable to expect that people understand there are going to be geographic based requirements for funding. That's just how government funding works. With that said, it took us 6 months to get to this point today, starting with a phone call to Senator Moncadingra about the excitement of this program. So we've talked to the governor's office. We've talked to both houses at the Washington State Legislature. We've talked to senators and representatives from several counties across the state. Everybody, 35 people on my list up here that I've talked to about this program, 100% of them are very interested in looking at this program with Edmonds for the thing that's going to start the fire. It will not take us 6 more months to get the next county group on board, right? We're now at the point of where we're really pushing through the end, and we've got to get Snohomish County started up with Edmonds so that we've got a stake in the ground and get going with a group of passionate students who want to be part of this. But there are other counties who are just waiting to go along with this. So even if you are outside of the geographic area for this program, we want to hear from you. We want to know that you're interested. I want to be able to tell, Representative Matt Benke over in Tri-Cities, who started the cybersecurity program at CBC. I want to be able to tell him, hey, we've got people over here that want to do this, right? Be our advocate and bring this thing into your county, right? Spokane, the same thing. I want to be able to call the legislators over there and say, we've got demand for this. Help us connect with the workforce boards and, make this part of your thing. So be part of creating this community and this fantastic program within the state. Again, understandable if it doesn't work for you and that's a disappointing thing. I will not challenge that at all. I totally get it, right? But help us create this momentum that we need within the state to just keep going is what my ask would be.
Cool. Okay. All right. So we've got approximately 20 minutes left. If it sounds good to everyone, let's have the lab managers here go through the questions in chat and just go ahead and let us know what those questions are, and whoever's able to answer will go ahead and respond.
I think we've pretty much covered a lot of it, but it seems like there's also a lot of interest in whether, there's going to be any kind of opportunity for students that don't qualify for the internship through the WorkSource program, if there's going to be any kind of a separate program that, graduating students would be able to get into.
That like some extra classes that perhaps Edmonds would sponsor word credit for? Is this
Well, perhaps, or even if there's just some way for them to go through the training so that they can get that hands-on capability, because there's going to be a group of people, that they're self-funded, they're putting themselves through college or they're working full-time in order to do it. And they're still going to need that, that foot in the door to take that step from graduating the program and getting into the work field in IT.
Sure. So the only thing that I'll go ahead and say in response to that, and then obviously I'll pass it on to Mark. I know Mark wants to comment on it. This is still very early in the program, and so I think it's a bit too soon, right, to really start addressing those things. However, if this is something that folks are concerned about or interested in, again, make sure that you give us your information and you become part of this community. And as the program progresses, we'll certainly answer all of these concerns. Mark?
Before Mark, can I Mark quickly respond to Megan directly on that one, because WIOA is a consumer choice, and I'm obligated to give her this correct information on this.
Is there any way you can turn up your volume there on your?
I'm in trouble hearing me again. Can you hear me better?
I think it's a bit better-ish, yeah.
So as I'm providing WIOA information, Megan, under WIOA, the same programs we have here in Snohomish County also exist in every county in Washington state. So wherever you live, whatever county you live in, there's a work source not far from where you are. If you go to that work source and you try to enroll there, you may not have access to this particular internship or training program, but they may be able to help you with your tuition for your education right now. And they will provide you with access to paid work experiences, including perhaps internships. So we will take your information and work with you, but I urge you also to look at the work source that is closest to you also for services similar to what we are talking about right now that may support you while you are in education. Sorry, Mark, go right ahead, Mark.
Well, I was just going to echo what Steve said. We will have other ways for anyone who's interested to participate in getting hands-on training. This is, as JD was saying, this is our first way to bring this to you, and it's a combination of working with the workforce organizations to access what they can support, and working with colleges like Edmonds that can provide the kind of the foundation that we need to build the top. We're going to be able to bring out next year some other ways to engage beyond what you're hearing here in this full-time internship. So help us keep in touch with you, and we'll make sure you know about what's happening. It'll be coming out next year. So I think we'll be able to help you, but we just need we need to get a little air under our wings under this one, so we can have a great, we can do a great job for everybody.
And I just add in, when Stephen, if it's not on the form already, maybe add the county that they're in, because JD's already talking to folks in all the counties. And if we could go to them and say, we already got 20 people in King County who would love to be part of this program, how do we get this going? Then we might be able to jumpstart some things. So definitely, they always say you talk with your dollars when it comes to the consumer market. You talk with your interest when it comes to the government dollars. So please let us know that you're interested in what county you're in, and we will try to make sure we get those counties prioritized on the list of who we're working with.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. I'll certainly go ahead and add that option there, Kyle. Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. So it's going to take a little while here for the video to process. As I said, I will send out an email. It's going to have links in there to the form, to the video, and then also for the orientation for the WIOA as well. And as far as your questions go, I will gather these up from the chat, from your emails to me, and from the form, and I will put these in front of the experts if these are things that I can't answer, and we'll just go ahead and keep everyone apprised of the progress that we're making and where things are. Okay.
Hey, Steve, this is Eugene out in Spokane. Can I ask you a quick question of Mark?
Sure.
Thank you, Mark, for showing us this opportunity. How do we keep in touch with you, or if we don't qualify for the WIOA path, but yet we've either completed the program at Edmonds and have all those requirements done or about to be done. I realize that you're introducing this Tradecraft program through WIOA, but I mean, how do we stay in touch with you once you create other paths in that aren't associated with these federal and state funds?
Yeah, I put my email address in the chat, so anyone who wants to just reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help. And I think my friends from Fish Cloud will be too. So, and I know Steve knows how to get in touch with us if you lose my email. We're not going to be hard to find.
Thank you.
Okay, so Steve Turpak, you know what? I just know him too well. Steve Turpak was going to ask, is there by any chance that we could go ahead and start a Discord or something like that relevant to this? And my answer is going to be possibly, but it's not going to be me. So if perhaps when the lab managers wanted to do something like that, I wouldn't see any harm in that. We would just be passing information on our progress. So that is a possibility.
Well, Brian's here. I know he's on Discord. Maybe it's something he can take on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey runs it, but we could make like a sub thing within that one that's called Tradecraft.
Love it.
I recommend not in the actual one. I recommend making a new one.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else here before we conclude? This has been a very informative session, by the way, and I really appreciate the folks from Fish Cloud and 418 Intelligence, and I learned quite a bit tonight about workforce. So I greatly appreciate this, and I certainly appreciate everyone's time in attending tonight. So I hope everyone found it worthwhile.
Yeah, I'll chime in and just thank everybody for being here. I mean, it's wonderful to see all the different faces and meet all of you and have a chance to talk about the program and also learn what isn't going to work so that we can change it. I mean, we're creating this thing very quickly over the last few months. And like I said, we found a lot of willing partners in this. So even if you have objections to it or reasons that you think you may not be fit into it as it is right now, give us that feedback so that we can generate, solutions for that to bring into the next version of it. And somebody asked when it's starting. Yeah, we're going to start at Edmonds here in Q1. Steve?
Yeah, so I think we'll probably have some trial runs here, perhaps midwinter quarter, but realistically speaking, with everything that's going on, we're probably looking at a spring start, which also coincides with how the 2-year degree is set up as well.
Oh.
So I think those are some realistic goals.
Good. Thank you again, everyone. We really appreciate your time. I know it's a big ask to come out on a Thursday night, so we appreciate you being here. Thanks. Thanks, Steve.
All right,
everybody.
And I
right,
put it in the chat as well, but I'll just say it as well. If you have any interest in this at all, even if you don't qualify, make sure you fill out Steve's form, because that's what's going to be the thing that he keeps track of to know who is still interested in this. And if something else, is able to be offered that isn't part of the, this particular internship, you're going to get information on it first, as long as you've got your information into Steve.
Thank you. And
All right, thanks, Leslie.
one last thing on the enrollment. Even if it starts in spring quarter, like Steve said, there's a benefit to enrolling now in Iowa, because we can start working with you on doing all the necessary paperwork, forms, the training forms.
Yep, let's get started.
And you can get support services. You can have an employment specialist helping you with some of the costs you need while in school and are preparing you for entry into this opportunity. So do not wait on that.
Are you guys going to send the link back out to people for those who didn't find it in chat?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. As soon as the video is done processing this evening, I'll go and get the email out. So, and Brian just Mr. Mitchell here just pasted it back in for those of you that still need it.
Brian's my link master.
Thanks, Brian.
All righty.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Really
thanks,
appreciate
everyone.
you.
Thanks again, Steve.
All right.
Thanks.
Take
Everyone.
care, folks. Happy
All right.
holidays to all.
Okay.
Thank you all for
Merry
providing.
Christmas.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Merry
Thank you all for
Christmas.
providing
Christmas.
this. Hi.